Derry in 1988. Bill Denbrough has a cold and is...
Guys, today we're reacting to all the deaths in It. Bro, is this Pennywise, guys? What do you guys want me to do this, okay? Please don't get me scared, okay, guys? I'm gonna try my best not to get scared, bro. It is just Pennywise is so scary. Let's start.
So he decides to make a paper boat for his younger brother, Georgie. The boy, excited, puts on his yellow raincoat and runs through the wet streets, following the little boat as it floats down the stream. The scene, which at first seems innocent, quickly turns into something distressing. The boat is carried to a storm drain, where it disappears. Georgie approaches and finds an unexpected face, Pennywise. The conversation is uncomfortable. The clown smiles.
Why are they talking together? This one first rule. Never talk to strangers, guys. What are you doing?
He reaches out to grab the toy and...
What the hell? What the hell?
Georgie tries to escape, but with a violent pull, the clown drags him into the drain. This is the first death shown in the movie, and also the warning that Derry holds secrets far darker than any adult dares to imagine. The first attacks. After Georgie's shocking death, the town of Derry sinks into an uneasy silence. But he's not the only one. Early on, we discover that many other children have also disappeared. One of the most memorable cases is Betty Ripsom, a local teenager who vanishes mysteriously without a trace. We don't see her death on screen, but her absence echoes throughout the story. Through her, we understand that Georgie wasn't an isolated case. There's a pattern, and Pennywise is systematically hunting Derry's children. And before we show the next deaths, we need to talk a bit about Pennywise's attacks. Starting with Stanley Uris, the most rational of the group, who has his own encounter with Pennywise in one of the strangest places possible, the synagogue where his father works. There's a painting of a distorted woman. It's an image that always bothered him, but was nothing more than a weird picture.
Oh my god, why do you even have a painting like that? Oh my god, what the hell is that? What the hell is that?
The leper.
Okay, what's
Eddie Kasprak is the hypochondriac of the group, raised by an overprotective mother who convinced him he was fragile and sick. His biggest fear is getting ill, dying from an infection, and Pennywise knows that very well. Alone, he passes by an old house and comes across a decaying figure.
What the hell? What the hell's that?
The leper almost grabs him when suddenly its mouth opens into a disgusting slime, revealing that behind that rotten appearance was Pennywise's influence.
Oh my god.
And he narrowly escapes the fire. Mike Hanlon helps his grandfather at a slaughterhouse, and his fear is directly tied to his family's traumatic past, marked by fires. While carrying meat to the incinerator, Mike starts hearing strange noises coming from behind the metal door.
Okay, this is what I hate. What? What? There's sense there? It's creepy. Okay?
Frightened, he steps back, but that's when Pennywise appears, lurking in the shadows with his glowing yellow eyes.
Guys, this is so creepy. Right, guys?
The bloody bathroom. Among all the losers, Beverly Marsh might be the one who suffers the most. She faces cruel bullying at school and psychological, maybe even physical, from her father at home. When she goes to the bathroom, she hears voices coming from the drain. Curious, she leans in, trying to understand where the whispers are coming from. Strands of hair.
Why would you do that? Bro, people in movies are just so stupid.
Until suddenly, a surge of blood bursts out, splattering across her face. She screams for help, but when her father arrives, he sees nothing. Just his daughter screaming hysterically. This attack is one of the most symbolic in the film because it shows the difference in perception between children and adults. The young can see the horror, while the adults are blind to the evil, corrupting Derry, Georgie's ghost. While everyone tries to deal with their own fears, Bill still hasn't overcome the loss of his brother. That's when he hears some noises that lead him to the basement.
Why?
As he reaches the basement,
why do you fool him? If it's even his brother, your brother will not be running from you. Why?
Suddenly, Pennywise emerges from the water, imitating his brother. The clown lunges at him, but Bill is quick enough to get away.
What the hell is this?
Derry's bully. Henry Bowers is the school's terror, and as the leader of a gang, he hunts the losers relentlessly.
This is so
the scene that defines his cruelty happens when he
so
Ben at the bridge. With his father's knife, Henry starts carving the letter H into the boy's belly. Ben manages to escape by rolling down the hill, but the level of the bully's violence is clear. Later, during the Rock War, Henry and his gang face the losers in a rock fight, but the tables turn. The losers fight back and drive them away. Humiliated, Henry becomes even more unstable, and it's in this moment of weakness that Pennywise begins to get closer to him, the murdered father. At home, Henry lives under the rule of his father, Butch Bowers, an aggressive, controlling cop. One night, while the TV plays creepy children's shows, Henry finds his father's knife. Under a dark trance influenced by Pennywise's presence, the entire TV seems to hypnotize him, and Henry does something unthinkable. Blood splatters as the man collapses into his chair. It's Henry's first direct kill, and thus proof that the clown is using him as a pawn in his game. From that point on, Henry becomes a killer, serving Derry's terror. the sewer death. Patrick was also one of the bullies who tormented the Losers Club. Cruel and sadistic, he crossed the line many times, but the town of Derry exacts a high price, even on those who spread fear. He decides to explore the sewers using a lighter and an aerosol can, but the silence is soon broken by strange noises echoing through the damp tunnels. As he uses the spray, he suddenly sees a crowd of people. Then a horrifying figure appears right in front of him. He runs in panic, but someone is right behind him.
I'm sorry, I have to blur all of this out, okay?
Down and devours him alive.
Oh my God.
Beverly's capture.
I
Soon
have to
after the
blur
cycle of
everything,
deaths
bro.
intensifies,
I'm so sorry I had to
Pennywise
blur
decides to attack the
everything.
heart of
It's
the
just
Losers
so
Club
bloody.
directly, Beverly.
Okay?
At one point, when the girl decides to leave home, she runs into her father, who confronts her aggressively, accusing her of doing bad things with the boys. The tension is suffocating, but thankfully she manages to fight back and get rid of that disgusting man. But suddenly, the clown grabs her violently and drags her into the sewer. There, Beverly wakes up disoriented, not knowing where she is and tries to escape, but the clown is faster. She's put into a trance, suspended in the air like a doll. Beverly's capture is the spark that drives the Losers Club to unite one last time. They know they can't back down anymore. Now, it's not just about surviving. It's about saving a friend and ending Pennywise once and for all.
Why don't they just grab
Into the well.
weapons?
At the climax of part 1, inside Pennywise's house, Henry reappears with a knife, trying to stop the losers from going down into the sewers. He attacks Mike, trying to kill him. The fight is intense, but Mike manages to fight back and pushes Henry, who falls into the well in the middle of the house, disappearing into the darkness. For the group, it seems like the end of the bully, the final fight. The Losers Club descends into the sewers in search of Beverly. As they go deeper, Pennywise's laughter echoes through the walls, warping their sense of direction. There they face their worst fears until they find Beverly, suspended in a trance, surrounded by floating bodies. The most devastating moment of the confrontation comes when Pennywise decides to attack Bill emotionally. In front of everyone, he brings Georgie back, but as the boy speaks, something feels off. He repeats phrases mechanically, like a puppet. That's when Bill realizes, with a broken heart, Bill points the makeshift gun at the fake Georgie and shoots.
You're not Georgie.
Okay, that's true. That's so true. Oof.
The image of the boy fades, revealing the clown behind the manipulation. It's the moment when Bill finally accepts his brother's death and turns his pain into strength to fight. Then Pennywise appears in his most terrifying form, leaping between the kids, twisting his body in impossible ways. He tries to separate the group, attacking each one with their greatest fears. The battle is desperate. The losers strike back with sticks, rocks, and anything they can find. But Pennywise is relentless. Still united, they manage to wound him, proving that courage weakens the creature, until the monster retreats into the depths of the sewer, disappearing into the darkness.
Okay. That was you. Okay.
Outside, the group realizes the victory isn't final. Pennywise will return, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. To make sure they'll never forget, they make a pact. Each one cuts their palm, and together they form a circle, joining in a blood oath. If Pennywise returns, they'll come back too. The Return of Pennywise. In it, Chapter 2, the cycle of terror from 27 years ago starts again in Derry, with a brutal scene. Adrian Mellon, a young gay man, enjoys a night out at a festival with his boyfriend, Don. But the happiness doesn't last long. As they leave, they're attacked by a group of bullies. Adrian is beaten and, almost unconscious, thrown off the bridge into the river.
This is not family friendly. This is not family friendly.
He tries to swim to shore while Don runs desperately, screaming for help. But instead of rescue, what emerges from the darkness is a horrifying sight. Pennywise. Don watches helplessly as Pennywise opens his mouth full of teeth and bites into Adrian's chest, devouring him. Red balloons rise all around, lighting up the night with a sinister contrast. Stanley's End. While Mike, the only one who stayed in Derry, realizes that Pennywise is back and calls the old friends together, one of them doesn't answer the call. Stanley Uris, now an adult, receives the phone call and goes into shock. He remembers the pact, remembers the clown, and just the thought of facing it all again destroys him inside. At home, Stanley fills the bathtub, takes off his clothes, and slowly steps into the water. The camera shows only the movements, the water turning red, and the heavy silence taking over the room. Stan dies alone, leaving behind an absence that echoes through the entire movie. His death isn't directly caused by Pennywise, but it's a direct consequence of the trauma he left in each of them. Henry's escape. Here we find out that Henry, the one from the first movie, is alive and locked up at Juniper Hill Psychiatric Hospital, and Pennywise comes back to haunt him, along with a corpse-like vision of Patrick Hockstetter, the bully who died in the sewer, now appearing as a grotesque driver. Under the clown's influence, Henry escapes the hospital, leaving a trail of blood behind and recovering his knife. The goal is clear: finish what Pennywise started, eliminate the losers. The reunion. Soon after, we see the other survivors answer the call and return to Derry. Bill, Beverly, Ben, Eddie, and Richie reunite with Mike at a Chinese restaurant. At first, the mood is light, laughter, nostalgia, stories from childhood, but it quickly turns into a nightmare. Strange creatures and monsters emerge from the table, crawling out of the food and spreading through the place. It's Pennywise's first manifestation against them as adults. He appears projected on the walls, laughing, mocking, reminding them that the pact must be fulfilled. The Skate Boy. The next day, Bill walks through the streets of Derry, lost in memories of his brother Georgie when he meets Dean, a curious boy riding a skateboard. The kid is talkative and innocent, instantly awakening a mix of affection and anguish in Bill. He sees in Dean a reflection of the brother he lost. Later, at a carnival, Bill sees Dean again, but something's wrong. The boy walks alone into a mirror maze. Footsteps echo and familiar laughter fills the air. Bill runs desperately through the glass corridors, seeing multiple reflections of Dean. The boy bangs on the walls, crying for help, but he's trapped. On the other side, Pennywise appears, slamming his head against the glass like a caged animal until it cracks.
Bro, what the hell
clown opens his mouth, revealing rows of monstrous teeth. Bill tries to break the glass, but can't. In one final glance, Dean looks at Bill for help, before being devoured alive by the clown. This death is one of the cruelest because it reignites Bill's guilt over Georgie and makes him feel once again that he failed to protect a child. The bullies end. Back to Henry. His first target is Mike at the library. He appears out of nowhere and stabs Mike with a knife, leaving him badly wounded. But this time, Richie doesn't hesitate. He grabs a small fire axe and buries it in Henry's head, ending him for good. Henry Bowers dies there, closing the arc of the bully that Pennywise turned into a murderer. With that, the losers eliminate the human threat and are finally free to descend into the sewers and face the creature in its final form. The Ritual of Chud. To defeat Pennywise once and for all, Mike reveals the existence of the Ritual of Chud, a ceremony learned from the local natives. For it to work, each member of the club must find an object from their childhood, something that connects them to the past. But Pennywise doesn't make it easy. Each one faces personal visions and near-death experiences during the search. Beverly returns to the old apartment where she grew up and meets a strange old woman. At first, it seems like a normal visit, but something about her is deeply wrong. Fortunately, Beverly gets what she needs and runs out of there. Ben relives his trauma of loneliness. He enters his old classroom surrounded by classmates who used to mock him until Beverly walks in. Suddenly, when he looks at her, her head is on fire. He runs away as the creature lets out a terrifying scream.
What the hell is that?
He runs out and hides in the locker where he used to take refuge from bullies, but he's not alone. The clown is right behind him.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Pennywise lunges at him, but then vanishes as if nothing had happened. With courage, Ben retrieves his item and escapes. Eddie goes back to Derry's old pharmacy, where he used to buy medicine as a child. The place is abandoned and falling apart. While searching for something that could serve as his artifact, he approaches the counter and suddenly hears a familiar, terrifying voice from the basement. Then the leper appears and vomits on him. But it's not ordinary vomit. It's thick, black, endless sludge pouring nonstop, threatening to drown Eddie completely. He's paralyzed with fear at his greatest nightmare made real: contamination, infection, death by disease. In the end, he escapes the pharmacy but is visibly shaken. Richie, the sarcastic comedian of the group, returns to Derry's town square, the same place he used to hang out with friends as a kid. In the middle of the plaza stands the huge statue of Paul Bunyan, the lumberjack that always scared him. Then a boy passes by and hands him a flyer for his own funeral. Then Pennywise appears atop the statue, saying that he missed him. But soon he reveals his aggression and lunges at Richie. Richie manages to escape just in time. As he runs, Pennywise calls after him, begging him to come back. But of course he doesn't. Back to the sewer. The Losers Club returns to where it all began, the old house on Neibolt Street. The place is even more decayed now, covered in mold and cracks, but the well in the basement remains, leading down to Pennywise's underground lair. In the tunnels beneath the house, they perform the Ritual of Chud. But soon they discover that Mike had hidden a terrible truth. The ritual never worked. The ancient natives who tried before all died, and now the losers are trapped with an angrier monster than ever. Then Pennywise appears in his final form, a grotesque hybrid between the clown and a giant spider. During the battle, Eddie, the hypochondriac who spent his life afraid of everything, does something unexpected when the clown has his best friend in a trance and is about to kill him.
Okay, what the hell?
For the first time, they realize Pennywise isn't invincible, but the triumph is short-lived. The creature strikes back violently, impaling Eddie with one of its claws. He's lifted into the air, bleeding, and then thrown to the ground. The end of Pennywise, consumed by rage and grief,
Okay.
the losers realize they can't defeat Pennywise with strength. It's Bill who understands the secret. He only has power because they believe he's bigger than they are. Together, they begin to insult the clown, calling him weak, small, pathetic. Each word weakens the creature, making it shrink, twist, lose its monstrous shape. The giant spider becomes a pitiful being, a shadow of the terror it once was. With its exposed heart pounding in desperation, the group unites one last time. They rip the heart out and crush it together. Pennywise screams, his body turning to dust as the whole lair collapses. The evil that haunted Derry for decades is finally gone. Stanley's letter. The survivors escape, but not without pain. Eddie dies in Richie's arms. Richie cries, refusing to accept the loss of his friend. His desperate crying is so overwhelming that he can't leave his friend behind. Its hiding place slowly collapses as they make their way out. The old house
What the
collapses
hell?
entirely, leaving behind memories of a dark past, but bringing relief to the suffering of all who died there. Days later, each goes back to their life, but something remains. A letter from Stanley, written
Whoa.
before his death. In it, Stan explains that he chose to leave not out of cowardice, but because he knew he wouldn't have the strength to face Pennywise again, and that his absence, in a way, gave the group the courage they needed to stay united. His words end their journey with
Okay.
hope and warmth, reminding them that even in death,
Well, bye guys. This is the end, okay? Please like and subscribe for more videos. Well, I'm Red Tragedy and I'm out.